Ryan had always been a dreamer, but lately, his dreams felt out of reach. Life had been throwing one challenge after another at him. First, he lost his job. Then, his best friend moved away. His confidence crumbled, and negative thoughts began to creep in. One gloomy afternoon, Ryan found himself at the park, staring at the ground. Why even try, he thought. Nothing ever works out for me. As he sat there, lost in his despair, the world around him seemed to mirror his feelings. The sky was gray, the wind chilly, and even the birds seemed silent. Suddenly, an elderly man approached. He wore a simple coat, his face weathered but kind. Mind if I sit here? The man asked, gesturing to the bench. Ryan shrugged, barely acknowledging him. After a moment of silence, the old man spoke again. I used to sit on this very bench years ago when I thought my life was over. This caught Ryan's attention. He glanced at the man, curious despite himself. The man continued, I had lost everything, my job, my savings, even my home. But here I am now, telling you that those moments don't define us unless we let them. From his bag, the man pulled out a jar of water and a tiny bottle of black ink. He uncapped the ink and let a single drop fall into the water. This jar is your mind, he said. And this ink is a negative thought. The water immediately darkened. One drop is enough to change everything, he explained. Now watch. He poured more ink, and the water became murky and unrecognizable. Then, the man pulled out a bottle of fresh water. He slowly poured it into the jar. With each pour, the dark color faded. Eventually, the water became clear again. When you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, the darkness fades away, he said. Ryan looked intrigued. The man smiled and pointed toward a flower bed in the park. Look at those flowers, he said. They grow because someone waters them, gives them sunlight, and pulls out the weeds. He paused, letting the metaphor sink in. Your mind works the same way. Negative thoughts are like weeds, they grow if you feed them. But if you nurture positive habits and thoughts, they will bloom like flowers. Ryan felt a flicker of hope. How do I do that? He asked. The old man nodded. Start small. Every morning, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Even the tiniest things, a good meal, a kind word, or even the sun shining. He continued, when a negative thought comes, ask yourself, is this true? Most of the time, it's not. Replace it with something positive, even if it feels forced at first. Also, take action, the man added. No matter how small, do something that brings you closer to your goals. Action silences doubt. Ryan scribbled down the advice, feeling a glimmer of determination. Over the next few weeks, Ryan started following the man's advice. He wrote in his gratitude journal every morning. He volunteered to help his elderly neighbor with her groceries. He went for walks, noticing things he had taken for granted: the rustling leaves, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of children. Slowly but surely, his mindset began to shift. The negative thoughts still came, but they no longer stayed. Months later, Ryan stood outside a new office building, ready for his first day at a new job. His heart raced, but this time it wasn't fear, it was excitement. The old man's words echoed in his mind, your thoughts don't control you unless you let them. Ryan smiled, knowing he had the tools to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Negative thoughts may always be a part of life, but they don't define you. Replace the darkness with light, and you'll find the strength to move forward.